Hey guys, Break here, and today we're going to be talking about investments leading into the new expansion and what potentially you can buy now to make a profit on when the expansion launches. Now, when I do these videos, a lot of you complain that they're too long and you just want the actual things, so here are the things, if that's all you want to see, but I will go on to explain why I think each is a good investment or what's a risky investment and why I think they're good investments. I have also linked this to my paste bin, so in the description below you will be able to find this list of items. But anyway, what should we be investing in? Now, I'm a bit worried doing these videos because obviously we do not know what's going to rise in price. We can guess, but no one knows for sure. So I'm going to behave like any investment company would and do a disclaimer. I'm not going to be responsible if you lose gold. Anyways, let us begin, and I do want to first say that you should keep some gold. In fact, you should keep most of your gold, and this is the most important thing. If you guys really don't have much gold, then I really wouldn't go investing it. Maybe you can invest some if you're confident in making more before the expansion launches, but you need to be confident because when the expansion launches, it's a really good idea to have quite a lot of gold. There are many reasons for this, of course. Lots of things are very expensive at the start of the new expansion and you really want to afford them. You don't want to be kind of suffering because you don't have enough gold at the start of the expansion. But from a gold maker's perspective, sometimes the best flips you can do and the best ways you can make gold at the start of the expansion is by spending it. For example, crafting makes an absolute killing at the start of expansions, and it also costs a lot to craft things. The crafting cost of a set of bracers, say, might be 10,000 gold. But they'll be selling for 30,000 gold. So if you don't have the 10,000 to spend or the 100,000 to spend to make 10 of them, then you won't be able to make the 30,000 gold or the 300,000 gold if you make 10 of them. So you're going to miss out on a lot of profit. Anyways, I split my investments up into three major categories, and the first one is inflation items. As we all know, inflation is a thing in World of Warcraft. It's been happening for ages. It's been actually rising, the rate has been rising for a while, and I'm sure inflation is going to keep on happening in Battle for Azeroth. So what does that mean? It basically means that items that you buy are going to become more expensive. So if I was to buy a Spectral Tiger Cub now, say for around 500, 600k, if we go into Battle for Azeroth and I sell it halfway through Battle for Azeroth, it will likely be 1,000,000 gold or 800, 900k. This is kind of for two related reasons. Number one, as we say, inflation anyway. And number two, because the TCG pets you can't get anymore, they're just going to keep becoming rarer anyway. However, not everyone can afford TCG pets and TCG mounts. So we can move and look at other stuff, such as other expensive mounts, other expensive items. One item I've given as an example is the Crimson Death Charger. Now if we look at the Undermine journal for the Crimson Death Charger, I think it's the mount you get from the ICC legendary questline thing. Anyway, on the EU, a year ago it was around 300k average price. And if we go up and up and up, a year later it's over 500k average price. If you'd invested in a few of those and sold them now, that's 200k profit times however many you'd invested in. That's a lot of profit. The same thing goes for Tabard of the Lightbringer, other expensive items that you can invest in and just sell later, and they'll hopefully sell for more. Another thing to do with inflation is of course the inflation of the WoW tokens. WoW tokens are going to keep on rising, guys. That's almost a certainty, unfortunately. So if you do have the gold, I suggest buying WoW tokens now. You know, buy as much game time as you think you're going to use. If you do have the gold, you should really buy a load of game time for the next year or at least, because realistically that is going to save you quite a lot of gold in the long term. I know a lot of people can't do that because tokens are so expensive, particularly on EU, but if you can, I do suggest doing that. And then the other thing is to max out your Battlenet balance or put some tokens into Battlenet balance. Again, that's just because it's going to become harder to get tokens when they rise in price, and it's going to be more expensive to turn them into Battlenet balance. There is another line of argument which I don't really agree with, but a lot of people do think that if you invest in Battlenet balance, you can then use that balance to buy tokens in the future and preferably make a profit on that. So people believe that if you buy tokens now, say I buy 10 tokens, I then convert that into Battlenet balance. I then have a load of Battlenet balance. So if I bought 10 tokens, each token converts to £10 of Battlenet balance. So I'd have £100 of Battlenet balance. The reason I don't really agree with this is because it takes a very, very, very long time for you to get any sort of return on this investment. The reason being is I buy a WoW token, I convert it to Battlenet balance, it's £10, but to buy another WoW token with that balance is £17. Yeah, so I basically need the WoW tokens to double in price before I see profit on this investment. So I wouldn't invest in Battlenet balance just to turn it into tokens again, but I would invest in Battlenet balance if you want to do other stuff with it. Anyway, next up we have items that will be in more demand with the new expansion. So new players coming to the game, old players returning to the game, and of course everyone leveling, everyone in a new zone where you can't fly. Loads of changes, which should mean loads of nice profits. So there are probably a few other things I just didn't think of at the time, but these are some of the things that I've listed here. So Sky Golem, if you remember at the start of Legion, Sky Golems went crazy. Everyone wanted a Sky Golem because herbs were so expensive. I have no reason to believe it won't be different in Battle for Azeroth, so herbs will again be really, really expensive, and people will be investing in Sky Golems, will be buying Sky Golems. One thing I'm slightly concerned about is that everyone already bought their Sky Golem maybe at the start of Legion, and so they don't need another Sky Golem. But of course there's always players, new players, players who want to start farming, all of that. So I do believe the Sky Golems will go up in price. Next up we have the Goblin Gliders and other engineering movement items. So there's a lot of Legion engineering in particular has a lot of items that can, like gun packs that can throw you in the air and can jet around and all of that. So I think those will go up in price as well. Of course, because you cannot fly in the new zones, in the Battle for Azeroth zones, until you complete the quests and achievements, whatever, and we don't know when they're going to be fully available, so I don't really know, but Goblin Gliders will definitely be more expensive than they are now. Whether I suggest investing in loads or maybe just getting an engineer in preparation and doing it closer to the time, it's up to you guys, but anyway. Next up we have the Rapid Mind Elixirs. Now this is a risky investment because Blizzard at any time could just say they're not going to work anymore. But for now they are working and they are going up in price. I did suggest people buy these a while ago and they have gone up in price and people have been making nice profits on them. And I think when more people come back for the pre-patch and for the new expansion and people are going to be leveling, particularly the allied races, because you know that you get those special transmogs for leveling an allied race, you can't just boost it, but you can use Elixir Rapid Mind. So I think some people will be buying these and they will go up in price because you can't get them anymore, so that's just what happens. But as I say, a bit risky because we don't know what Blizzard's going to do with them. Another risky thing is the Hexweave bag. So these are usually a great investment before a new expansion because again, people creating new characters, people want to get all their bags up ready for questing or whatever, and they do usually increase in price. However, very risky as there are new tailoring bags being introduced in Battle for Azeroth, and I'm not certain how that's going to work out. I don't know if these are going to be hard at the start of the expansion, so people still be buying Hexweave bags, and then later on in the expansion, when it's easier to make them, Hexweave bags will die. I have no idea what's going to happen, but again, at your own risk, up to you guys. Other items which I definitely think are good investments, and I've talked about all of them in the past, are Naxi, Minion of Grumpus, and Lovebird mounts. Now, these have already gone up loads in price. Naxi has really shot up in price. Minion of Grumpus has. Lovebird, Lovebird was pretty recent, so that hasn't really changed. But it's still, on my servers at least, gone up in price. And these are going to shoot up with inflation, and they're also going to shoot up the further away we get from the holidays. And when everyone comes back who quits and comes back for Battle for Azeroth, people are going to be buying these, and you're going to make a really nice profit, I think, if you invest in them now, especially if you can get them cheap. It does annoy me when people comment like a month after I release one of these investment videos for the holiday items. They say, they haven't gone in price, you wasted all my gold. When actually I've never been wrong with a holiday item. They always go up in price. They have done, as we've seen with Naxi, as we're starting to see with Minion, and as we will see with Lovebird. And they're just going to keep on rising right until about a month or a month and a half. They're usually about a month before the event itself, so a month before Halloween. So That gives you easily a month in Battle for Azeroth to sell your Naxxes, or 2 months even, so that's going to be really nice. Anyways, finally we have items from Legion that may rise with less people doing Legion stuff. So again, I'm not certain about some of these, it depends what Blizzard do with changes. So for example, the Steelbound Harness costs a load of Blood of Sargeras, I believe, to craft. So it costs 50 bloods, and you'd think that Blood of Sargeras is going to be harder to get because there'll be less people doing world quests, less people getting their bloods, so potentially mounts like this will rise. And also the recipe that you get it from is from a Legion raid, so there may be less people crafting it. We'll see what happens. It also uses Demon Steel bars, which may go up in price, may not, I'm not certain. Anyway, if Blizzard do change Blood of Sargeras, then it could make this a rubbish investment. But I think for the moment it could be a good investment. Not the best out of all of these, but it might work. Next up we have different materials, so both World Quest items and the difficult crafting materials, so stuff like Pandemonite, which is a really rare thing you get from prospecting the ores. And of course World Quest items like Felwort, etc. There's also bacon, though I don't really know why people would use bacon. There probably is something they'd use it in Battle for Azeroth, but it's unlikely. But Felwort's still used to make a few things. Pandemonite again is used to make a few things. And because they're harder to get, I can see them going up in price, though. These are likely to keep falling over the next few months until we get into Battle for Azeroth, so I wouldn't invest in them now. I'd invest when they're really, really cheap. As for all of these items, guys, only buy them if they're actually cheap. Check the region average, check your market average, and actually buy them when they're cheap. It will make a big difference. Don't just go and invest in them if they're, high in price. Only invest when they're cheap. And again, I said items made from these materials, such as the Jewelcraft toy. That's made from all the old gems. And the gems are just, again, going to be harder to get because there'll be less people mining the ore, less people prospecting the ore. If you look at the Mr. Pandaria gems at the moment, they're kind of crazy on quite a few servers. They're used for Tome of Illusions and stuff like that. So it's probably a pretty long-term investment, but I think it could pay off. Next up is probably one of the best investments on here, in my opinion. We're already seeing the fruits of it. And this is big thanks to Vardis. Again, I've spoken about this guy. Go follow him on Twitter. He writes lots of guides on the WoW economy subreddit. He's great. He loves his battle pets. Anyway, he did write up a guide with some of the things that he thought would rise in price in terms of pets. And he has listed them here. Now, some of these I can really see rising in price. So I think the Nightmare Whelpling has already been rising loads in price. It was like 20-30k for ages, and now it's like 70-80k, at least on the EU. So that's been a really good investment if you've already invested in that, and I still think it will keep going up. The same with the Bile Lava. This is from Argus, where you skin mobs, and it's a really low drop rate, so I can only see this increasing as well, because there's going to be way less people on Argus, surprise, surprise. Thistleleaf Adventurer, again, that's from Dreamweaver's Cache. There's going to be way less people doing emissaries, so there's going to be way less Thistleleaf Adventurers. Should go up in price. I won't go through all of these. You can check out Vardis' post on the WoW Economy subreddit if you like, for reasons why these are going to go up, but they should all be pretty decent investments. Anyway guys, that is that. Like I say, I will link in the description below the paste bin where I have copied this list. It is not a comprehensive list by any means, and I'm sure you guys will tell me in the comments why I'm wrong, and you'll also give me suggestions for other things which I forgot about. I definitely will have forgotten about some things, and maybe we'll do another video closer to Battle for Azeroth where we'll talk about more investments. But anyways, thank you guys very much for watching, and until next time, see ya!